Hello everyone, and for the first time in quite a while actually, welcome back to some Battletech Alpha Strike for the channel. I do apologise for it having been so long since the last one. There isn't that many mechs painted up in the studio, available mechs, so to avoid just having every video be the exact same two sides facing each other, kind of have to pace them out a little bit to give me time to get some more painted up. So I do apologise again, but it's just the way of it. Don't have that many mechs available, and most of them that I paint are all in my mercenary band because I want them for my mercenary band. So that provides a problem in and of itself. But enough rambling. Today we're going to see Clan Jade Falcon going up against Wolf's Dragoons in the Alpha Strike format without the hex map, and let's go look at the specifics of both sides so I don't ramble on anymore. So both sides are 5 mechs wide. They're using the clan formation format rather than the inner sphere 4 mech style land setup. There is a bit of a discrepancy though between the representation of the mechs present, and as a result, to balance them out a little bit better, because there's like a 30-point difference I think if you just go by mech value, the pilot skill levels have been adjusted to make them a bit more even. So anyway, we have a team we've seen before. Starting at the back right as you're seeing it, we've got our Timberwolf T. They're going to be skill 3 pilot. Next to them we have the Warhawk T, who's also going to be a skill 3 pilot. So they're the two heavy hitters. They can dish out up to 7 damage and 5 damage respectively, I think. They're very, very powerful. Then at the front, from the left side, we have Pouncer T, we have a Nova T, and a Firemoth G. That is fun to say. It flows very well. And all of those are pilot skill 4. The Firemoth in particular is just a pure glass cannon. It dishes out 4 damage, usually 5 because you're hitting someone in the rear probably with how fast it moves. But it's only got 1 armor, 1 structure, so it's super easy to explodinate. So yeah, they've got a slight skill advantage in terms of their pilots, but overall the Wolf's Dragoons have the tougher array of mechs. And speaking of them, here they are. So across the board they are all going to be pilot skill 4, which is your standard mech warrior pilot skill level. Not inexperienced, not overly experienced, and that balances out the overall point structure between the two sides a bit better. Not ideal, but a bit better. So we have ourselves a Timberwolf T right at the back middle. On your right we have the Annihilator 5W. We have the Archer, what is the Archer denomination? It is the Archer C2 over here, and then at the front we've got the Blackjack C and the Rifleman C3 right over here. So simple as that. I'll talk about the mission and whatnot once we're back after this brief word from my channel sponsor. This video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Check out the video description below for an affiliate link that will take you through to their store, and it will help me out as well. Thanks. And with that said, today's mission is just going to be a little bit on the simple side just because it has been a little while since we played. So it is just going to be a straight up grudge match. It is going to be kill each other until you are dead. So both sides, they've just got a point to prove. They are going to see who can outlast the other. I doubt it will go to a round limit, but we'll count it as a 5-round limit. I imagine it will not take that long. It will probably be on the quick side. There's a lot of powerful mechs, so they'll be ripping into each other probably from turn 1. So because we're playing on a 3x3 table, we've talked about this before in previous videos in more detail, we adjust deployment areas to account for that, so mechs still start the same distance apart as if they were on the 4x6 table or whatever it is that you would normally use. We'll get both sides deployed and show you where they are. As also per usual, we'll be doing roundups of the movement phase, just showing you how fast each mech moved, where they moved, and then we take the shooting step by step. So with both sides fully deployed, Clan Jade Falcon, who are going to be to the left of your screen, 1 initiative, so they'll be going second in the combat phase and activating second in the movement. The Wolf's Dragoons team is over here. We're going to do a little bit of shaky cam to show where they are just really briefly, just to see where they're deployed against the line here with the Rifleman up there at the top. And then back down here, the Firemoth is behind this hill over here. Then we have the rest up in here in 2 sets of 2. So with that, we're going to jump into the first turn and be back with the movement step for both sides fully completed, and we'll show you what speed and where they ended up at. So here we are at the end of turn 1 movement phase. Going to have to be a bit more shaky cam so I can show you where everyone moved and at what speed. Let's start with the clan on the left here. So they're 2 heavy hitters, they're 2 skill 3s, the Timberwolf and the Warhawk. They both just did ground moves, with the Timberwolf also getting into the cover of that ruined building right there. And then up above them, the Nova T jumped onto the hill to give him good line of sight. You can basically see all of them, I think. Obviously, he'll be a little bit more inaccurate from doing that. The Pounder, which I always called the Pounder by accident, is to the top of your screen. He sprinted, so he won't be taking part in this combat phase, but he is well up the table and is fully obscured behind those rocks there. Now, you may be wondering, where is the Fire Moth? Well, the Fire Moth, which moves 30 inches base and 45 if you sprint, did sprint in order to get right behind enemy lines, will not be doing anything this turn, but is hidden behind the building there and is going to have his choice of who he gets to shoot in the back next turn. So a normal 30-inch move got him to roughly there, not quite in the rear arc of how the Blackjack positioned himself, so technically the Blackjack would have been able to fire him, so that's why he sprinted instead. Speaking of the Blackjack, he is obviously right there. He jumped onto the building. Then their Timberwolf and Archer just kind of moved up middle, and the Annihilator, being as slow as it is, sprinted, and you might notice it didn't get very far despite the fact it sprinted, because it is just that slow. It is obscured by some rocks here in the centre. I'm not sure who will be able to see him. He is quite tall, but I think maybe only the Nova T. And the Rifleman has also just done a ground move right there. So there'll be three mechs rather, not taking part as we go into combat, starting with the Wolves Dragoons. Well, combat got started with the Rifleman bringing all weapons to bear medium range into the Nova T that jumped up onto the mountainside. And welcome back, Battletech Alpha Strike. Good to see you. How did the first roll of the game go? Well, if we just come over here, we can see how the first roll of the game went. Base skill 4, adding on 2 for medium range, and then 2 plus 1 for being TMM plus 1 for a jumping target, means looking for 9s, and didn't get a single one across his 4 medium range weapons. If you are new and haven't seen previous videos, we used the variable damage optional rule here, so it's not just rolling 2d6 for all your weapons either being hit or miss. The Archer shot its weapons next, and I forgot that the Archer C2 is actually pretty deadly at short and medium range. It's got 7 weapons. So it shot at the Warhawk, who it could see because of the Warhawk's size, despite it being partially obscured by boulders here. So it did get the +1 for partial cover. All said and done, that meant they were looking for 8s in total. Base skill 4, added on 2 for medium range, 1 for the TMM, plus 1 for the partial cover. So, 7 weapons, and this time we brought enough dice for a change. But, another not exactly great roll with only 2 confirmed bits of damage getting through, and the Warhawk has plenty more armour where that came from. I think it has 6 or 7 left. Well, all of a sudden, the Blackjack that jumped onto the building showed what it could do. The Blackjack 2, I think it is, or 2C. Either way, I think it has clan tech in it. But either way, it shoots 4 weapons medium range, and it has a penalty for having jumped during his turn of 2. Shooting in medium range is another 2 on top of his skill of 4. Shooting at the Warhawk, TMM of 1. So he was looking for 9s, I think that adds up to. And there is his roll right there. He managed to get every single hit through. So far he has been the most successful at shooting and has chipped off 4 of, it was indeed 7 more armour. So that is 3 left on the Warhawk. That's pretty good. They're going all in on him to try and just take him out after this shooting phase. And then finally it was up to the Timberbow / Madcat, because the Annihilator sprinted and everyone else has fired. So it decided to try and finish off the Warhawk. With the benefit of hindsight, absolutely should have taken advantage of overheating and piling on some extra damage. But 7 weapons medium range into the Warhawk. He did get some cover from the rock, again just because of positioning, and the roll was pretty terrible. The Blackjack was the most successful shooter for Wolves Dragoons this turn. 2 more armour chipped off, 1 away from getting a crit there, and if you get into structure you get a crit as well. But the Warhawk lived with 1 armour remaining, so structure remains untouched. And now it is over to the clan for their chance to shoot back. So first up for Clan Jade Falcon was the Nova on the hillside to the top of your screen, and just to test the waters, that shot at that Blackjack that has been the most successful firer on the table. Both of them having jumped means that it was a pretty bad shot. I think it was 10s needed, and of the 6 that it can fire at medium range, managed a single point of armour, rather not structure, single point of armour through against the Blackjack over here. Well, it is most certainly that Blackjack that has Clan Jade Falcon's ire. The Timberwolf from here, shot up at it, and skill 3, add on 2 for distance, add on a total of 2 I believe for TMM plus it having jumped, meaning it was looking for 7s and did pretty well with his roll. Well, I guess slightly under, but managed to do 3 more armor damage to him, leaving that Blackjack with 1 armor remaining that I suspect the Warhawk is about to take off, and once he cracks into the structure, the Blackjacks fold pretty quickly. And sure enough, the Warhawk did indeed finish the job. He overheated himself for 1, so he'll have that heat carried over into the next round, but that does mean if at least one part of the attack gets through, he does +1 damage, and he was looking for 7s as well, I believe, so 4 damage got through, which normally would have left the Blackjack on 1 structure remaining, but because of that overheat, it's actually going to take him out. Now, technically, because structure's been hit, there would be a roll for a crit, but he's dead anyway. Just for fun. What would it have been? Okay, well, that's boxcars, so he would have been explodinated either way. So I guess luck swings both ways for this Blackjack, and he's dead. Now, you don't remove until this phase is all resolved, but it's basically resolved. One other thing to note, last time the Warhawk was on the table, totally forgot that he has the heat roll on his weapons, meaning that he actually generates heat in the targets he hits if he's shooting at short or medium range brackets. Long range he doesn't. So he could have been overheating targets last time he was on the table, which I believe was the viewer verdict video for Alpha Strike. So that was done, well, it wasn't even done incorrectly, it was literally just forgotten about. But the one time it's remembered is the time it doesn't matter, because the Blackjack is dead. So now we resolve everything at the end of the first round. So this is officially where, unfortunately for that Blackjack, he did so well with the shooting, but not so much on the old dodging attacks coming in, despite having jumped on that roof. He is gone, and now Wolf's Dragoons are a man down. That's also their best option for dealing with the Fire Moth out the way as well, which is doubly bad for them. The Warhawk would apply its heat to itself now. It's only 1 point. It's just going to make it a bit harder for him to land an attack next turn, unless he takes a turn to cool off, of course, although I doubt he'll have the time. And with that, yeah, let's jump into round 2 and see where everyone ends up moving. As we start turn 2, here is the initiative rolls with the Wolf's Dragoons in blue dice and Jade Falcon in the greens. So Wolf's Dragoons have won the initiative roll. They'll be going second in the shooting phase and the second to activate in the movement phase. And we're back with turn 2 movement for both sides done. We can actually see basically where everyone ended up. No sprints, so everyone's going to get a chance to fire this time around. Wolf's Dragoons basically consolidated their position over here with the archer facing that way as anti-fire moth tech, although it still did decide to come in. As you can see, it's going for a rear shot into the Annihilator just to try and get a nice chunk of damage before it inevitably blows up, because it has 1 structure, 1 armor. The Timberwolf for Jade Falcon is slightly obscured by this building just for cover. The Warhawk just moved up because it just wants to do a lot of damage before it explodes, basically. And up here, the team of the Nova and the Pouncer both kind of came together here, jumping out of cover in this regard and from the hill over here, and gives them nice line of sight into the Riflemen and Timberwolf for Wolf's Dragoons, who are also, again, just kind of consolidating their position. So, because Wolf's Dragoons won the initiative roll, they actually get to do their firing second, so they'll know what position their mechs are in and whether or not they might as well just go all in on overheats, etc. So we'll be back with Clan Jade Falcon's first attack. And so the first barrage of fire came from the already slightly overheated Warhawk, who overheated again, because why not? So he overheated into the Annihilator, not short range, just as a reminder, short range in Alpha Strike is up to 6 inches. So outside of that, still in medium bracket, shooting 5 weapons, and looking for 6 is all said and done. 3, 4, 5 for range, 6 for heat. Yeah, so that is a miss. Everything else got through those, so that's 4 points of armor chipped off there, plus an extra 1 for the overheat, which I think leaves the Annihilator with 3 or 4 armor remaining. It was the Timberwolves' turn to join in, also against the Annihilator, because they want that big gun off the table. You can't see all the dice that were rolled because they are obscured by the hill here, but of the 7, only that missed, so that is 6 more points of damage, and that got into the meaty stuff. It got through his massive amounts of armor and into structure, although he also has a ton of structure. But that does mean an automatic crit gets through. It can't surely be boxcars after we already saw boxcars. It is not. A 5 is a not critical hit, so nothing additional there. But he's got 4 health left, I think. Sorry, he has 5 structure left. He is exceptionally tanky. Well, then it came down to the fire moth, who you can barely see behind the building here. And he is there to just shoot into a mech's back to finish them off, and that's precisely what he did for the Annihilator. He also overheated to try and guarantee it. He shoots 4 weapons in his short range bracket. Base skill of 4, you add on 0 if you're in short range. You add on 0 if you're shooting an Annihilator. It's that large and slow, so he was looking for 4s. Everything got through. That's 4 damage, plus 1 damage for shooting him in the rear arc, and plus 1 damage for overheating. So he did 6, and that is enough that the Annihilator is going to explode. But with the way Alpha Strike works, and Battletech in general, he is going to get a chance to fire because the shooting happens simultaneously, technically, so he might as well just go all in on any and all overheat capacity he has just to try and do a lot of damage because he knows he's dead. Less successful shooting up the top end of the table with the Nova, choosing to just fire straight into the rifleman facing him and only getting a single hit through. Now granted, he jumped, which was affecting his chance to hit. Base skill 4, 2 for medium range, plus 1 for jumping. Base TMM was 1 as well, I think. So I think he needed 8s or 9s, something like that. So yeah, only 1 hit got through for a single point of armor damage to the rifleman. And then finally it was the Pouncer who moved into position. Only 3 weapons on a Pouncer. It's not that heavily armed, can't overheat either. Also shot into the rifleman just because that's who they're working on up there. Did better, also looking for 9s, all said and done, because skill level. I think I said jump plus 1 a second ago. It's jump plus 2 if you jumped, plus 1 if the target jumped. So he was looking for 9s, but he did much better. 2 out of 3 got through, leaving the rifleman on... How much does he have left? He has 3 armor left. But that is it for Clan Jade Falcon's shooting. So now we're over to Wolf's Dragoons, and they really have to do some damage here. Well, it's a bit of a disaster because the first one to shoot was the Archer facing this direction. Should have been a slam dunk easy kill on the Fire Moth. Short range, so it's just his base skill of 4 versus the TMM, although Fire Moths, to make up for the fact they, a stiff breeze kills them, they are TMM 4, so he was still looking for 8s, but he was shooting 7 weapons at short range, so you'd think he could do 1 armor, 1 structure and kill the thing. Well, we just come over here so we can see the glory of his dice rolls. There they are before you, and there is but 1 that got through, so the 1 armor is gone. He technically didn't touch structure, so as my understanding is you have to actually do structure damage to get that guaranteed crit roll. So nothing, just he's alive on 1 health. I don't think any of the other mechs have rear facing weapons. The rifleman doesn't. I think the Archer is the only one who did actually. So they can't even use rear facing weapons to attack him, meaning he's probably going to live, and that does not set them up well for the turn. Well, at least we got to see the raw fury and power of an Annihilator once before it gets removed off the table. At medium range bracket, which it is, between it and the Warhawk, who was his target, he shoots 10 weapons. So I can't show you all the dice because we had to do 2 sets of 5. You can see the ladder over there. He did get a natural crit. 3 are successes there. The first 5 were all successes. So that damage alone is enough that the Warhawk is dead. But he technically got a crit for getting into structure and for getting that natural one there. Just for funsies, we're going to roll and see what those crits would have been with them being color coded. We got a 3 and a 7. A 3 is engine, and a 7 would have been a movement point hit. So, doesn't really matter though. The Warhawk is very much exploded. The Rifleman was looking for 9s, all said and done, to try and hit that pretty evasive Nova that jumped into position, and only managed to get 1 hit through out of its barrage of 4 medium weapons. For 1 armor, leaving it on 4 armor remaining? Yeah, 4 armor remaining and 3 structure. So it's over to the Mad Cat now for Wolf's Dragoons to end off the phase. Oh, and sadly for the Timberwolf there, not a great showing. Shooting into the Pouncer just because it's a bit weaker than the Nova. 4 armor, 2 structure. And it also jumped into position though, so needing 9s all said and done. A single point of damage got through of his 7 medium range weapons. So, as I said, I think at the top of Wolf's Dragoons' shooting phase, they really needed to do well there. They did not. So at the end of that round, damage is applied, heat is applied, etc, etc. The Warhawk explodes in a massive burst of fire at the same time as the Annihilator over here. So the 2 heaviest hitters on the table are now gone, although we obviously still have a Timberwolf on both sides and they can do damage despite what you may have just seen from the Wolf's Dragoons one. So let's jump into the next turn. And as we start the next round, here is the initiative roll, same colours representing the sides again, which means that by 2, 6, 7, 8, yep, by 2, it is Wolf's Dragoons who once again took the initiative roll and will be going second in each of the phases for this round. And we're back with the movement phase for this round done. Everybody did ground moves, so it is just a case of seeing where they ended up. A lot of positioning, and then followed by someone moving into their rear arc, followed by someone moving into their rear arc. It reminds me of the insta-kill trains that could happen in the Alien vs Predator 2, I think it was, video game. Very obscure reference, I know, but the multiplayer of that was just ruined by the fact you could insta-kill by walking up behind someone, and then someone would walk up behind you while the long animation played and just do it to you, and someone would walk behind them because they took so long. It was faulty to a point. Anywho, here's where the mechs ended up. We have the Timberwolf for Clan Jade Falcon down here. It is the Archer and the other Timberwolf who are trying to get to him. The Firemoth moved in behind the Wolf's Dragoons Timberwolf. Over here we have the Nova with the Rifleman behind it, and then behind the Rifleman we have the Pouncer. I think that about covers it. So it is the Clan Jade Falcon shooting first, yeah, because Wolf's Dragoons won the initiative roll, so we'll see what damage they can do first. So the little fire moth that can was the first to do its shooting, and it's going to live through this turn as well. Nobody has rear firing guns on this team, even the Archer. So he overheated again and shot into the back of the Wolf's Dragoons Timberwolf. Their base TMM is 2. His base skill was 4 plus the 1 for already having overheated. So he was looking for 7s, but every single hit got through of his 4 short range weapons. 4 damage, 5 for hitting into the rear arc, 6 for overheating damage as well. That leaves the Timberwolf with 2 armor remaining, I believe. Next it was Timberwolf versus Timberwolf as Clan Jade Falcon's Timberwolf shot its medium range weapons into Wolf's Dragoons, and we can see the roll for over here actually. Base skill 4, 5, 6 for range, 7, 8 for TMM, meaning that 4 damage got through. He didn't overheat or anything like that, so that leaves 2 structure remaining on Wolf's Dragoons Timberwolf. And a crit got through, so we're going to roll for that live to see what happens to the poor thing. Oh, that was so close to another explode. That's still bad though, right? Yeah, that is an engine hit, so the engine on Wolf's Dragoons Timberwolf is damaged. The Nova blasted his way at short range through the Archer's rear armour, getting a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage points, but 6 because of shooting into the rear arc, and bringing that Archer down to 1 armor remaining, although he does still have 6 structure left after that. And then finally for the clan, the Pouncer shot into the rear arc of the Rifleman, getting all 3 hits through, plus 1 damage for shooting the rear arc, which actually took it into structure damage, leaving it on 4 structure remaining. But we've got to roll for that crit again, and we're doing it live. And that is a 7, which is MP hit. So that is, what does the MP hit actually do? Let's see, I think that's the half movement one, right? Yeah, so this movement is halved now. So as we go over to Wolf's Dragoons shooting, it was back to Timberwolf versus Timberwolf, and he's going all out with 2 structure left. He's not going to live through another round. So he overheated for 2, which is his maximum capacity, and did very well with his roll. You can see some of the dice here. If we just turn the camera a little bit. Of his initial 7, only 2 missed, so that's 5. Total of 7 damage though, with the overheat extras thrown in, and that's his first time overheating. So that leaves the Jade Falcon Timberwolf with a single point of armor left, which the Archer is now going to try and annihilate. And annihilate him the Archer did. That's the rolls all there. Skill of 4, shooting at close range, so it was just the TMM of the target, which was 2, so he was looking for 6s. It all got through, and that is enough that, yes, he got into structure, but also he just killed it. I guess for fun we can roll to see what the crit would have been, which is nothing, I think. Yeah, no critical hit on a 5, but that is the Clan Jade Falcon Timberwolf gone at the end of the round. And then finally for turn 3, shooting Rifleman into the rear arc of the Nova, got 2 hits through of its 4 attacks. It has 4 in short and medium range brackets, and plus 1 damage so for rear arc, so that was 3, leaving the Nova on 1 armor, 3 structure, and still standing. So at the end of the round, damage is applied. The Timberwolf down here is now off the table. It explodes, and although overheating happens, if they don't take a turn to cool down, there might be an issue going forwards, not just with their chance to hit, but with actually overheating too much. But it's looking a little bit better now for Wolf's Dragoons. all the heavy hitters are basically gone for Clan Jade Falcon. Their Timberwolf though is 2 structure away from deaths, and the Fire Moth can just move wherever he likes and he can just go last, basically. So it's very difficult to do anything about him beyond the first turn. But we'll see. Anyway, let's jump into the next round. So at the top of, I think we're at round 4. I think I said also that we'd make this 5 turns. We're going to count this as the last round. If a side hasn't been wiped off the table entirely by the end of this round, it is going to be the highest value of mechs left on the table that is declared the winner. Kind of using Rumble Slam rules here if you're curious. So for the rolls, just realised you can't even see Wolves Dragoons rolls. They lost the roll though, so Jade Falcon has initiative and will be going second, which for them is perfect. And with movement complete, it was basically once again a kill train just lining itself up. The Archer's moving down here, but the Nova has gone down to try and finish it off. The Rifleman tried to protect his rear arc, which kind of worked. The Pouncer moved in right there. The close to death Timberwolf moved in behind him, and in turn the Fire Moth moved in behind him, and I'd be massively surprised if he did not get that kill. But they go second this time around, so we're actually doing Wolves Dragoons shooting first. This is their chance to see if they can wipe enough value of mech off the table to secure a win if it does go to that by the end of the round. Well, good start to the shooting, albeit expected given that it's a Timberwolf. Shooting into the rear arc of the Pouncer, having a negative of 2 though because of the overheating, so that makes it 6, and then 7 8s in total, so 5. Actually that's a miss then, but these all went through, plus the extra 1 for rear arc. He also got boxcars and got into structure, so there is 2 crits to roll for here, and that is a 7 and a 6, which is a weapon hit and an MP hit. Oh, and sorry, just for the record, since I forgot to say it, the Pouncer actually lived on 1 structure thanks to the overheat making it harder to land those shots. Oh, the Rifleman went for trying to remove that Fire Moth off the table, needing 10s. 4 skill level, adding on 2 for range and 4 for TMM, so that is 10 in total, and none of the hits got through, and he would need 2 of them to get through to even... Oh wait, no, didn't he lose his armor? Yeah, he actually literally just needs 1 hit to get through, and he still couldn't manage that. That is rough. Well, this was mostly just out of spite. The Archer opted to shoot at the Fire Moth as well, also needing 10s, shooting 7 weapons though, and 2 of them got through. He had 1 structure left, so that does mean the Fire Moth will be exploding once the round ends. But that also means the Pouncer and the Nova are living, and all 3 of them get to shoot now, because that's the Wolves Dragoons game done. And the Fire Moth that has been the bane of the Wolves Dragoons for this entire match shot into the rear arc of the Timberwolf. Actually, is that the rear arc? He meant to be positioned. I guess we'll count it as, because he was meaning to. He has more than enough movement that he definitely could have. It's just a bit of a misplacement. So yeah, he shot into the rear. 2 got through, which I think on its own was enough to kill it anyway. Plus 1 damage for rear arc. So yeah, he had 2 health left, so it doesn't matter if it was rear arc or not. So that is the Timberwolf exploding at the end of the round. The Nova shot point blank into the Archer's side arc there, and you can't see the full dice there at the top left of your screen, but he got 4 damage through, got into structure, did not do enough damage to kill the Archer, so it comes down to how severe is this crit roll for getting into that structure. Getting into the meat of the mech, that rolling a lot of 7s, and that is an MP hit, so the Archer is going to live till the end of the match. Oh, actually, the Pouncer could choose to hit him instead, as that side arc will see him. I need to check who's got the higher chance of getting killed, him or the Rifleman. Well, as it turns out, there wasn't really much of a choice, because he only has 3 weapons at short, medium range, or short and medium range, so that wouldn't have been enough to take out the Rifleman without seeing his rear arc, so he had to go after the Archer, because that was the only opportunity to get a kill, even though the shot was worse because it's at medium range, not short range. He got 2 hits through of his 3, which does do 2 more structure damage to the Archer, but leaves him on 1 armor standing, meaning he survives. And that brings us to the end of the round, and indeed the end of the game. So, damage applies, the Wolves Dragoons Timberwolf explodes, but so does that Fire Moth finally, although it took way too much to kill it, and that leaves 2 mechs aside left on the table. So we're just going to go by total value to time out the match here now. Just by the mech value, not the pilot value. So the Nova is 42, and the Pouncer is 29, so that is 71, I think. And for the Wolves Dragoons, they've got themselves the Rifleman, which is 38, and the Archer, which is 52. that's 5, 6, 7, 8. That is 90 on the dot. So thanks to the 2 medium mechs being their survivors, it is going to technically be a Wolves Dragoons victory just based on the timeout. However, if it did go to another round of combat, it's hard to say actually, but with only 1 health remaining and 3 health remaining, they're going to die, and they're slow as well thanks to the MP hits. So they won't be able to maneuver that much. They can move, what? It's half, so it would be 4 inches for both, I think. So yeah, they wouldn't be able to get very far. These 2 could jump into their rear arcs, and that would also mean they couldn't get attacked. So, you know, it would have probably gone Clan Jade Falcon's way had we done an extra turn. But we're going to call it there just because time is running out for our recording today. So we are going to technically call it a Wolves Dragoons victory, but, you know. So just as a final note, had the Timberwolf not overheated as much as it did so that it would have got 1 more point of damage through in the Pouncer would have died, and then it would have been a 100% complete victory for the Wolves Dragoons. But either way, I hope you enjoyed the return to Battletech Alpha Strike on the channel. I can't promise it will be here super often, again just because don't have enough mechs painted up for enough different factions. Hope to at some point in the future, but that would obviously mean picking up more repeat boxes that have the best value to give you the best wide array of, say, inner sphere stuff or clan stuff. So if you do like seeing this, please do consider going above and beyond to show your support by becoming a channel member or pressing the thanks button. It is appreciated and all helps keep the channel in general going. Or if you want to pick yourself up something, do so via my channel sponsor, clicking through from the affiliate link. That means if you buy something for yourself, and they do carry Battletech, I will also be compensated as a result of anything you buy for yourself, which means we both win. Thank you for watching either way. I do hope to see you again in the future, and until then, ta-ta for now.